What up, y'all? It's the Morning Hustle with L'Oreal and Kyle Santillian. You know we always got guests in the building, and today it's not even like really guests.
I was gonna say guests.
Yeah, it ain't really like guests. It's like the homies pulled up. You know what I'm saying? Angie's in the building.
I'm in the building. Who let me in here?
I thought you had beef with the Morning Hustle.
I do. I do.
I just saw you.
Only one person. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, that's the person you got beef with. I know that's right.
No, she said hi to me.
No, she's in my chair and she knows it.
She doesn't have a chair
I
anymore.
don't have a chair. I don't have a chair
Yes,
anymore.
that's a familiar voice, man. If y'all didn't recognize by now, Angie Ann just back in the building, hanging out on the Morning Hustle. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you got your people with you today, man. Representing Miss Keisha Nelson, the Education Outreach Director at Howard University.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good morning
The
to
one
you.
and only.
The one and only.
The original HU.
Somebody
Coming
said the
strong.
bison in here.
Okay, y'all going crazy.
You
now.
know you can't.
comes.
No one just says Howard University. You got to be like HU. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I know. I be wanting to
L'Oreal.
say it because it's like I didn't officially go there, but I
Yeah. But
unofficially
She
went.
went there. She got baptized at
I
homecoming.
got
We
baptized.
embrace all
There we go.
people that understand the real HU.
That's what I'm talking
The
about. I
real
know
As
what
long
the
as
real
you know
HU
it's the real
is.
HU,
She got the
listen.
vibe.
I know
Yeah.
what it is.
You
I'm
can come
bison by
anytime.
bills, man. These bills are coming to the house. They got
Bill
Howard
Bison.
University on it.
Exactly.
But I'm still representing my school, Winston-Salem State University
All
as well.
day.
So,
It's
you know,
HBCU
it's
love.
HBCU love.
It's
You already know.
Absolutely.
You just was talking about HBCU Week.
Yes.
Explain that to us a little bit.
So HBCU Week is an initiative that goes down in September, and they have different HBCU weeks at this point.
Yes.
But what we've been able to do at Howard University Television, which is the only PBS, the only HBCU to have a PBS station, right? So there's PBS, and then there's all its affiliates, and there are PBS stations all across the country that are facing funding challenges right now, right? And we'll get into that. But WHUT is very special because it's the only HBCU to hold a PBS license, which means that we have a unique perspective with our storytelling. And so HBCU Week Now initiative is a partnership with us and another PBS station called MPT, that's Maryland Public Television. So a lot of what happens is when federal funding comes to PBS stations, it comes through the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, that's CPB. When CPB gets this funding, then they create all these grants for all the PBS affiliates all across the country to develop programming and programs to reach underserved communities and to in general just to impart information to people. And so I'm really proud to be the director of content at WHUT.
Yeah.
So I run all the programs. So I
And
went
she had
from
a baby too. That's what you hear in the
that is-
background.
That's my baby.
She is our chief children's officer
Yes.
because
I love that.
PBS Kids is extremely important. You can't create PBS Kids without the children.
Exactly.
Right.
She
That's right.
tests all of our content.
She tested
Yeah.
out
She
to
gives
make
us
sure
all
it's good.
better
I love
feedback
that.
than anything.
Yeah, so while we develop content that is centered around HBCUs, because we also know, like, outside the East Coast, a lot of people don't even know about HBCUs.
Right.
Yeah.
Black people included, right?
Yeah.
There are black people all across the country who don't even realize that HBCUs are around, and that they exist, and that they're an option for them. And so we create programming around that, amongst other documentaries. We are now, this is my third year as director of content. We're up for 4 Emmy nominations this year. So I'm very excited.
That's what's up.
But right now we are here because there's the PBS annual meeting is happening, and there's conversations around how do we advocate for public media.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting stories I heard was that Kentucky, for example, WKET, they have one PBS station to serve the whole state of Kentucky.
Wow.
And what I learned when I left Morning Hustle to do what I'm doing today, right? I didn't realize. I thought
we
PBS
fired you.
Well,
No, I'm joking.
She said, no, don't get it twisted.
Ange walked out on her own too. Okay.
Oh, we
But I
gotta take
love
that
y'all.
out. But
love
go ahead.
y'all. Love y'all forever. But when I moved from Morning Hustle, I thought PBS was like a TV station.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like we watch a TV, but it's so much more than that. And that's when I met like Keisha, for instance, who runs all the education and outreach. And there are so many young people who are not getting early childhood development opportunities. So when you're watching Arthur or you're watching
My
Reading
favorite
Rainbow,
show. What happened to Arthur?
Arthur's
Arthur's still around.
Okay, because I ain't seen him in a minute.
Shout out to
Are you
us.
still around?
So when you're watching these things, there's a whole team of people that's behind the experts who are creating each episode with your young person in mind and making sure that that young person has access to learn, social skills that you won't get in school regularly.
Listen, it's so necessary because, I'm a father of 3, so at different years, depending on how old my kids were at that time, PBS Kids and PBS shows were always on in my house. You know what I mean? And I think it's such a necessary place for programming because we see all these other networks that are always doing things that are risque. You know what I mean? I'm watching, I'm going to be real, even stuff like Nickelodeon at times. I'll be like, wait a minute.
It's a lot.
Wait, that's a little much for my, you know what I mean? But PBS and PBS Kids was always a safe space.
Yeah.
To have your kids sit down, watch some TV, and they're always going to be educated as well.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely something that you guys are doing a great job of and something that we got to continue.
And that's why we were a little upset. We talked about it here on the Morning Hustle when Elmo said he wasn't going to have anywhere to live. We might not see Elmo for a while. And
that was real.
sparked, and I love how y'all did that because we did hear the reports. We did see the PBS funding maybe getting taken away because of whatever's going on with the current administration. But when you pulled at our strings with the Elmo, because everybody loves Elmo.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Keish can speak to that because we do have Elmo back, right?
Yes, we do have Elmo back. Elmo is back. Elmo is back. Sesame will have new episodes on PBS and Netflix, which makes our content even more accessible.
Yes.
Because the reality is, Kyle, you said you have kids. Howard's not the first time that you paid for their education. Early childhood education is extremely expensive for families. Daycares, preschools, and thanks to PBS, we're able to make free content that's educational for families that may not necessarily be able to afford those resources.
Right.
And so that's why this is so critical for us because we want families, all families, no matter your income, no matter your accessibility, we want you to be able to have a strong academic start for your young child, like mine, like my baby. You know, it should be free. It should be an opportunity for kids to experience the best educational experience. And that's what we're able to do with PBS Kids.
And let me ask you, how has it been in terms of with the development of streaming channels and things of that nature? How's it been in terms of viewership for PBS? Because I know back in the day, obviously, you turn it on to regular TV or you might have had it as a cable channel. With streaming, has it still been able to get the same amount of traction as it had in the past?
I'll say
even more because you think
for
the
PBS
PBS Kids app, the PBS Kids app is huge.
It's major. As a matter of fact, that's one of the main ways that our families are consuming our content. They get that app. You guys know, parents get that app. They get that phone, and that's it. Their kids are quiet. And
come
just
over.
like
You
said,
got games on your phone?
listen.
No, I got PBS
I know,
Kids.
You better watch this, Elmo. You better watch this, Elmo. And we have new shows like Lila in the Loop and Weather Hunters that have better representation opportunities. Lila in the Loop is the first PBS Kids animated series that features a Black family.
I like that.
She looked at me like,
Listen,
Belle.
I'm like, that's Belle worthy. I'm hoping.
Come on, Belle.
You know?
Love it.
But we also have Al Roker's newest show, which is Weather Hunters, which features a family. You'll see that this fall. And so I really think there's a lot of effort being made to ensure that there's representation and that all kids see themselves on those streaming platforms or on their TV.
That's
Did
fine.
one time it go a little too far? Because I remember it being, or too far opposed to like what people are saying should be taught to kids. I think it was something to do, am I wrong, with a transgender character?
So I know that there was some controversy, but I don't think that there's a secret agenda or anything that's happening. I think that we just want to make sure that kids are
Everyone's
receiving the
included.
best content. Exactly.
Right.
And that everyone's included.
Because some people thought it was too young, right?
Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to those topics, I don't think that our content has been explicit around, being likening itself to one thing or the other.
Yeah.
I think we just show diversity.
I agree.
That still can be a little touchy at times.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I need to know what show that was. I don't remember that.
I think it was supposed to be with Sesame Place.
Oh, Sesame.
Oh, was
Sesame
it Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay,
that's
I didn't know if
Sesame
you were
Place.
talking
You know
about
where I used to
where
go
that
when
was.
I was younger.
Right.
Yeah, listen,
Okay.
so did I. So did
Sesame Place was
I.
fun.
And it's still
That was a great place. I love Sesame Place.
You gonna have to show me that one. I need to see
That's
that.
why I wasn't
episode.
sure if it was the internet taking it out of control,
Okay.
like controlling a narrative, but I know that was a conversation around like same sex and stuff like that, and them thinking that maybe it was too young for kids.
Yeah, you'd have to show. You got to cite that source before I could. I don't know about that particular episode, but what I will say is, like, for instance, I look at we just did an event in Southeast DC with Carl the Collector, and it's a show that's centered around neurodivergent children and autism. And so while we argue about what's too racy or what's too this, what's too that, meanwhile, we're in the community with these young people and their families, and the children have autism, and the children are having a hard time connecting with content that's out there.
Yeah.
And then we have a program that's specifically designed for young people who are neurodivergent in that sense. And it was an amazing event.
And to your point, I will say that one of the things that makes that event even more critical is it was funded by our Ready to Learn grant, which recently we are no longer able to utilize those funds anymore. So that is an example of why this public media matters work is so critical for us, because it's literally like we were in the community one day and now the next day we're not able to do that work anymore.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Lo brought it up in terms of what was said with the Elmo taking a position and things of that nature. Where are you actually now in terms of funding and funding that may have been removed and funding that's been put back in place? Like, are we okay with it? Are we struggling with it? What's your point of view with that?
Unfortunately, our largest grant, which is funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, it's called the Ready to Learn grant. It has powered work with content that we all know and love. Unfortunately, that work is what we are no longer able to do in the community. It actually allows us to pilot new initiatives within education, like everyday literacy, computational thinking, which is critical thinking skills, getting our babies ready for the future. We're not able to engage our most vulnerable populations with that funding anymore. That is a part of the executive order that was most recently signed, that our Ready to Learn grant, we are not able to utilize those funds anymore. Now, things are still in the works. We're not leaving it there on the table. And so hopefully we'll be able to come back and tell y'all, we're back again, like Elmo's back. But we're not back right now.
Okay.
And that's a part of the conversations that we're having while we're here in Atlanta with our colleagues to learn more about possibilities. Now, we're able to do the work, but the work is not funded, So that does present a lot of challenges for us when we think about folks across the country who were funded, their roles were funded with this work.
Yeah.
Not just, our events and programs, but we're talking about people losing jobs because of this decision.
And I feel like now this is something that PBS has been around for many, many years.
Yes.
Why do you think now is the attack on the network or the company?
It's not the first time. It's PBS has had waves of, because sometimes it gets caught up in politics, even though it has nothing to do with politics.
Right.
PBS is not a political platform of any sort, but because of its funding and its primary funding sources, it can get caught up in politics.
Right.
So this is not the first time, but this is probably one of your most unprecedented times, right? Where you really don't know. They have fought before. PBS has fought before against people wanting to, and politicians wanting to pull the funding. So they ain't new to this, that's for sure.
Right.
But certainly, like, this is not what you would normally see. So
how can people support and help fight to keep the money coming?
That's what we want to know, because we can't see see Elmo go nowhere else.
Yeah,
No.
We need y'all to protect your public media. You can go to protectmypublicmedia.org. That's protectmypublicmedia.org. And it gives you 3 easy ways that you can support your local PBS station, support what PBS is doing, support your public media, because they really do more than just create programs. They really create initiatives and impact the community directly. So again, that's Protect My Public Media. Even if you just Google Protect My Public Media, it'll take you to protectmypublicmedia.org.
Yeah.
And it's like it's as simple as signing up, emailing, things like that. So that'll keep you abreast as well to everything that's happening.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times we do get caught up in misinformation, or we do like we're talking about one episode and now that becomes the whole, everything is wrong because I saw an episode that didn't align with what I thought or what I feel. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we've got to question the whole system. Like we've got to do a better job of being better informed. And then we've got to do a better job of just finding resources. And that's the other thing. PBS it's reliable. It's reliable. It's trusted. And they have so many rules in place. Like I can't tell you how hard it is when I'm creating or making documentaries or approving programs and things. There are so many rules in place because that matters so much to them. That is the top priority, that they remain the #1 trusted source. And so it's not like you just create whatever you want and throw it out there. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
There are so many rules in place to ensure that everybody is getting information and not that is influenced by anybody. That's why you can't just come in and buy advertising for things. You can support programs, but you can't buy it, and you have no influence over the content that gets created because you put some money behind a project.
Yeah, we want everything to be brought to us by the letter H.
Amen to that.
That's funny. One more question about that. When they do put these executive orders in or they're fighting to remove funding, what do they say their reasoning is? Is it we don't want to spend public funds on this, we want to privatize? Like, what is their mindset? Do you even get an explanation?
I think it's value. I think that that folks don't see the value, the impact. I think that's why the storytelling is so important. And we have letter writing campaigns. We have ways where people can literally say, no, this is, like you mentioned about your anecdote and your personal anecdote with Elmo. Like, those stories matter and need to be heard so that folks can it's like we're lobbying. We're lobbying so that people understand how this is important to this family and this family. And those letters all add up to thousands, and tens of thousands, which is ultimately what the hope is that everyone will share their personal story to say that just because you don't see the value doesn't mean that so many people aren't impacted.
I don't know how they
by
can't
the quality.
see it.
I know.
Everybody's kids grew up with this. I don't know how
We
you
were
can't see
all
the value.
PBS kids
You know
at
what I'm
one
saying?
point.
I got on a bracelet right now that says PBS kids.
Wow, look at that.
What's the odds?
But I do think like the who it's for matters, because PBS came to level the playing field for a lot of families that didn't have access to quality educational experiences. If that wasn't your family, you may not see that value.
Right.
We also didn't have cable, so like
Channel
see, there
13
you go.
So,
that was cable for us.
That's
Yeah.
cable.
Yeah.
That hour that you're watching your show is your time, but everybody doesn't have that upbringing. And some people don't understand how critical this is. Somebody's only preschool experience.
Yes.
If you grew up in private school or with a nanny or with another privileged perspective, you may not necessarily understand how critical it is for someone who doesn't have that point of view. So
With your little privileged self trying to take away from the underprivileged.
Exactly. Well, we want y'all to get all the support y'all need.
Yes.
ProtectMyPublicMedia.org. Yes?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
ProtectMyPublicMedia.org. Got all the details there. It's real simple how you can help out or just make your voice heard.
Yeah.
I know people got busy schedules. I know you got a lot on your plate, but we all were PBS kids at one point, so it doesn't hurt to go to the site and just check
I seen
it out.
them signing Tory Lane's petition. Now, if they can sign that, y'all can go on over to PBS and help.
Thank you.
That is
Can
hilarious.
Can we give a shout out to me, Lynn Joe, who is also on our team?
Yes.
Education and Outreach. She's our education coordinator, and she does amazing work with all of our Ready to Learn
She's
stuff.
good with kids too.
Oh yes, 100%.
I
So
love
yes.
it.
Yeah, no, salute to her as well. Salute to all of y'all. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Thanks for stopping by. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Of
And
course. Thank you
shout
for
out to
having
Howard University, of course.
Yes.
Guys, shout out to
All day.
Can I get an
Bison.
H-U?
You know.
Okay.
All day. W-H-U-T, baby.
Publicmedia.org. Keisha Nelson, Angie Ange. Appreciate y'all for
Yeah,
being
thanks
in the
for
building,
coming
man.
back, Ann.
It looks the same. It feels the same, except you are in my seat.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. This is
She
my
know that
seat.
was my seat.
You don't have
I
a
love
seat.
that seat.
You
She
don't
just
have
said
a
something
seat.
today about her not sitting there in the past.
Yeah, I hate this seat.
And now
It's
look how
cold.
comfortable she is. Look
It's
at her.
cold in this seat.
Nah, you love that
That
seat.
vent.
It is that vent was no joke. But no, I'm just thankful I'm thankful for L'Oreal because we've been through like from the beginning
Yeah.
of the Morning Hustle.
Yeah.
We've been in it together. And I've watched the show evolve from the beginning, us being in DC, and I'll never forget meeting L'Oreal. And again, I didn't know what all was going on, but I remember from the time I met her, yeah, because you know how radio go.
Yeah.
You sit in these seats, the next thing you know, the next day they done gave you a whole new show, whole new team,
Yeah,
absolutely.
like this is for anybody who wants to be in the radio business. You got a daughter that wants to get into this business. You got to learn. This is a business, and so it could change at any moment. But I remember when I met L'Oreal, it was magnets. It was like automatic magnets, and we had so much fun.
So much fun.
And for Nair, like she was my sister.
Yeah.
And in the journey, just like your sister, you're gonna protect her. She gonna look out for you. You gonna look out for her. It was like we was like back to back out
That's
here,
right.
because you just didn't know all that was going on. But with the growth of the show, like there was vision. And one thing I'll say about L'Oreal, like she had a vision for herself, but was always down with the team. Like what we got to do. And so I had to now her and this Belle and can tell you how difficult she can be at times. But like her heart is good.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when a person's heart is good, like that matters to me at least. And so, even with how difficult she can be, I always love her because like you got to teach each other. Like we teach each other, we grow each other. You got to be there for each other, support each other because ultimately, Kyle, you've been in this for a long time, man. I remember Kyle may not tell y'all, but I went to school with his sister. And we came for homecoming, and Kyle, the man down Winston-Salem State and down North Carolina, and showed us automatic love. Like this stuff can change at any given time, so we're all like a family, and it just feels good. Like being here feels like I'm with family, and I just appreciate y'all so much, and I appreciate my Radio One family, my Urban One family, because I grew up with them. I came out of Howard and went right into this. And so, I thank L'Oreal because anytime, whether she come to DC or I come to wherever she at, it's automatic love. It'll always be automatic love, and same with you, Kyle. And so, and it's always love for Morning Hustle listeners as well. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And it is good to be here, to sit here with you, and just to see how far your show has come.
Well, we're going to make sure we always support you. You're always giving back to the community.
Yes.
A woman of the people.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
You
right.
can't go nowhere in D.C. with Angie Inge
That
because
is a
you're
fact.
not moving
That
two
is a
steps.
fact. That
Okay,
is a
so we
fact.
want to give you your flowers as well.
Thank you.
With the bell and all
Come to my
that.
restaurant too.
Oh, yeah,
L'Oreal,
no, make
make
sure
sure
y'all
to the
check out
restaurant.
Ange's
It's in
restaurant.
DC, right?
It's so good.
Yes, well, Silver Spring.
Okay.
We got them in DC as well, but Miss Toya's
It's
Creole
delicious.
House.
Named
Yeah.
after me.
Next time I'm there, I'm definitely going to try to pull up.
You
for
have
sure.
to come. Miss Toya's Creole in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Delicious.
It's a beautiful place.
I recommend the salmon bite.
She
Nice.
tore up the salmon bites, but yeah, I always this girl here it's always a good time, a time I never thought I'd have. That's usually the best way to describe it.
And we're going to have
That's funny.
shots at some point. too.
Too many shots. I
Already.
can't drink with her either. No.
Yo, we appreciate you too, man. Thank you
y'all.
for pulling up on us, man. And the love is definitely there for you as well. So
Yeah.
Thank
Angie
you.
Ange in
Thank
the
you.
building.
Save Elmo.
Yes, protect your public media, y'all.